Hi, I'm Gregory Paolini, and in this episode of Table Saw Techniques, I'm going to show you how to transform a plain square blank of wood into a classic, elegant, tapered table leg, solely on your SawStop table saw. So stick around. One of the quickest ways to add a little elegance to the leg on a project you're working on, whether it's a stool or a chair or a table, is to taper it. And the process is real simple on your SawStop. The key to doing this is by using a holding jigger fixture, and this one's just made from scraps. Start with a base that's a little longer than your project's leg. Here I'm using 3/4 inch particle board for the base. You could use plywood or just about any thick sheet stock. Then you want to add a runner, which will ride in the SawStop's miter slot. A good hard wood, such as white oak or hard maple, makes a great runner. To attach the runner to the base, I'm using the same quarter trick that I used when I built the crosscut sled on an earlier episode of Table Saw Techniques. Don't worry about lining up the base perfectly. Square isn't critical here. And you actually want the base to extend beyond the blade a little bit. Now with the runner attached to the base, I'll put the blade guard back in place and make a trim cut. I want the edge of the platform, or the edge of the base, to be even with the cut of the blade. So I've got my desired taper laid out on my leg. Now all I have to do is line up that taper with the edge of the jig. And now I just place the leg on the base of the jig, with the waist portion of the taper overhanging the base. And now I just trace my leg onto the base of the jig. And use those lines to install some positioning cleats. You'll want a long cleat along the length of the leg and a short one against what will be the top of the leg. Secure the cleats with glue and screws. And I like to add some sticky back sandpaper to the base of the jig to help keep the leg in place. To wrap up construction of the jig, add a toggle clamp to secure the leg to the base. You might have to add a few spacers there in order to get the right height to accommodate the leg. Using this jig is even easier than building it. Simply set the leg in place with the taper on the proper face, clamp it down, and you're ready to cut. Then raise your blade to clear both the jig and the leg. For the next cut, take the leg out, rotate it 90 degrees, slide it back into the jig, and clamp it down again. This clamp auto-adjusts for height, but if your toggle clamp does not, you may need a shim there to take up the gap created from the material that's been removed. Now line up to take another cut. And that's it. A classic tapered table leg made solely on your SawStop table saw.